The sky above the planet Varas burned orange. Smoke rose from the cities as towers collapsed and explosions echoed across the mountains. The people of Varas had no more ships to flee. The invaders, the Skarn, were ruthless, destroying everything in their path. No one had answered their earlier cries for help. Myra stood on the roof of a broken building. She held a small device in her shaking hands, a long-range distress beacon. The Varasians had once been proud and strong. But now, they were nearly gone. Her last message was simple: to anyone out there, please help us. Far beyond Varas, in a distant part of the galaxy, Earth's Deep Space Command picked up the faint signal. The beacon had passed through old trade channels, drifting past silent stations and long-dead satellites. On Earth's black oceans, inside a moon-sized spaceport buried beneath the Atlantic, the message appeared on a screen. A young officer read it twice, then forwarded it to the top. Within minutes, alarms sounded in Earth's defense network. Not many knew what it meant when the Deathworlders were mobilized. Earth's elite force, humans trained in the deadliest conditions, born on a planet filled with danger, were not diplomats. They were Earth's firestorm. Commander Briggs stood on the bridge of the warship Iron Will, reading the decoded message. His eyes narrowed. The Skarn. Again. That name still brought memories of burned colonies and lost friends. This time, they would face Earth's fury. All units, prepare for deployment, Briggs ordered. We move in 4 hours. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth's outer moon, more warships powered up. These were not shiny, elegant ships like those in most fleets. These were armored beasts, sharp angles, thick plating, engines made for silent movement and brutal strikes. The hammers fall. The Void Hunter. And leading them all, the Iron Will. Back on Varas, Myra heard the skies rumble. But it wasn't more enemy fire. It was something new. Bright flashes lit the clouds, tearing through space. The sky cracked open. Above the planet, Earth's fleet arrived in formation. Not with words. Not with peace offerings. But with silence. And power. The ships moved like predators. The Skarn fleet tried to react, but it was already too late. The first wave of Earth's Deathworlders landed near the capital ruins. Their armor was dark. Their eyes burned with focus. And unlike others who had come before, they didn't hesitate. Fire rained from the skies. The ground shook as Earth's heavy dropships slammed into the burned soil of Varas. Dust clouds rose like waves, covering broken streets and shattered buildings. The survivors looked up, shielding their eyes, not sure if these were more enemies than they saw them. Humans in thick black armor stepped out, huge, calm, and terrifying. Their suits hissed with pressure, and their weapons looked like nothing the Varasians had ever seen. One of them raised a hand, palm open. It was not a threat, it was a signal. "We are here to help," he said through the comms. His voice was deep, steady. Myra, watching from a half-destroyed shelter, couldn't believe it. She whispered, "They came." The Deathworlders began moving quickly. They didn't waste time talking or waiting. One team spread through the city's ruins, scanning for survivors. Another team set up defense positions, ready for another Skarn attack. Above them, Earth's warships circled like silent monsters in the sky. Then the next wave hit. The Skarn weren't done. A fleet of attack drones raced down from orbit, aiming for the new arrivals. They moved fast, sharp metal wings and deadly plasma launchers glowing red, but the Deathworlders didn't flinch. A soldier named Leon raised a launcher and took out 5 drones with one shot. Another, named Ada, fired a pulse cannon from her wrist. It split the air like thunder. A direct hit. Explosions rocked the sky. One by one, the drones were torn apart. Earth soldiers moved with speed that stunned even the Skarn. Their reflexes were beyond alien understanding. They dodged fire before it even came. Their minds and bodies were built for war. The Varasians, hiding in underground shelters, watched the humans fight. Some cried. Not from fear, but from hope. Commander Briggs monitored everything from the Iron Will above. His voice came through the comms. "Skarn Command Center is 3 clicks west. You know what to do." The Deathworlders advanced. They moved like shadows, using the terrain as if they had lived there all their lives. The Skarn had set traps, mines, autoguns, acid fields. But none of it worked. Earth's elite were trained on a world full of dangers, lava flows, wild storms, and animals more deadly than most alien soldiers. They saw through the traps before stepping into them. One squad reached a scan outpost. Instead of waiting, they struck fast. Grenades rolled under walls. Guns blazed. The outpost didn't last 10 seconds. Inside, one human found something strange, a room filled with captured Varasian children. Their eyes were wide, faces covered in dirt and fear. The soldier knelt, removed his helmet, and said, softly, "You're safe now." The children ran to him. Far above, more Deathworlders deployed. Across Varas. It was not just a rescue mission. It was war now. A cleanup. Earth's kind didn't just protect. They erased threats when pushed too far. The message from Earth had been simple: we heard you. Now, the answer came with fire. The battle spread across the ruins of Varas. Earth's Deathworlders were no longer just defending. They were hunting. Small squads moved through broken buildings and twisted metal streets. They used short-range scanners and motion detectors to locate scan fighters. Every time a signal blinked red, it didn't last long. A shot, a flash, or a thundering stomp ended it. The scan had never seen warriors like these before. Their own soldiers were fast, brutal, and well-armed, but Earth's soldiers fought like walking storms. They never slowed down. They didn't stop to rest. And when hit, they kept moving like machines. Myra watched from a safe corner with a group of survivors. She had seen many kinds of warriors before: mercenaries, pirates, even noble soldiers from distant empires. But these humans were different. They didn't fight for gold or power. They fought like something had been taken from them. Like pain was fuel. One human, a man named Tom, led a 3-person squad into the old trade station. Inside, dozens of scan were setting up a forward command post. It looked secure: thick walls, auto turrets, and heat sensors. Tom didn't hesitate. He marked a spot on his visor. Heavy strike, coordinates locked. Seconds later, from the sky, a bright red beam came down like lightning. The roof exploded. Metal flew in every direction. Fire followed, then Tom and his squad moved in. The scan were disoriented, blinded, deafened, panicked. But Earth soldiers moved like they were dancing in a memory. Every shot hit. Every step counted. Within 90 seconds, it was done. The forward command post was ashes. Elsewhere, Ada led a sweep through a ruined hospital. She walked carefully, her boots crunching glass. Her scanner beeped, 3 life signs. She found an old Varasian man and 2 children hiding under a pile of old blankets. She removed her helmet, offered them water, and a calm voice: "You're safe now," she said. "We'll take you to shelter." The man's voice shook. "Why did you come?" "No one ever came before," Ada simply replied, "because Earth listens." Meanwhile, in orbit, Commander Briggs watched new reports stream in. One map showed red zones disappearing, scan territory wiped clean. Another showed Earth's fleets pushing toward the scan flagship that still orbited Varas. He opened a secure channel. "Tell the fleet to surround their command ship. I want their leaders to watch as we undo everything they've built." Down. On the surface, Leon's unit encountered heavy scan armor, massive walking tanks with plasma turrets. The scan believed these machines were unstoppable. Leon knelt behind a broken wall. He smiled. Time for the fun stuff. He pulled out a charge pack from his belt. Shaped like a disc, glowing blue. He threw it forward. The pack stuck to the tank's hull, and a second later, it pulsed once. Boom, the tank flipped backward, flames pouring out of its belly. The scan inside didn't even have time to scream. Deathworlders didn't need fancy tactics. They just needed pressure, and once the pressure broke the enemy, they never stopped. Hours passed. The red skies began to clear. The scan signals grew fewer. One by one, their last holdouts fell, and Myra, standing on top of the old capitals, tallest ruins, saw something she hadn't seen in months: hope in the shape of dark-armored humans, walking through ash and flame like giants from myth. Scan warships began pulling back from orbit. Earth's fleet watched them run. The once proud scan command ship, the Razor Claw, broke formation first, its engines burning blue as it fled. More followed, their captains panicked by the sudden loss of ground support. They had expected a weak cry for help, not a force that could burn through fleets and armies, but Earth didn't just defend, they punished. On the surface, the Deathworlders advanced through the last scan zones. Every shot they fired was sharp and cold. They weren't fighting in rage. They were fighting with purpose. Myra stood beside Ada and Leon now. The two soldiers had taken her group under their protection. Though they barely spoke, Myra had learned to read them. Ada had eyes like stone, but always scanned for the wounded first. Leon joked when no one else could. He smiled before battle but never after. As they moved through a destroyed corridor, a high-pitched whine echoed. Everyone froze. Drone swarm. Ada shouted. Hundreds of spinning blades shot through the air, red lights blinking fast. The scan had unleashed one last trap, tiny machines built for slicing through armor, flesh, anything soft, but the Deathworlders were ready. Ada dropped a device on the ground. A small orb, glowing white. EMP out. The orb flashed. All at once, the drone stopped. They fell like metal rain, clanging against the floor. Leon stomped on the nearest drone and grinned. Nice try. Just ahead, Earth's forward teams had reached the city center. The last scan bunker was buried deep underground, hidden beneath layers of old tech. Briggs gave the order from orbit, crack it open. The humans set charges, placing them with quiet speed. No cheers. No words. They moved like they'd done this 1,000 times. The explosion shook the city's spine, the ground cracked, revealing a tunnel filled with panic. Scan officers tried to flee. Some fired back. It didn't matter, the Deathworlders stormed in. Myra and the other survivors watched the smoke rise from a distance. It wasn't just victory, it was justice. Later that night, Earth's command team set up communication relays and medical centers. Supplies were dropped across the surface. Food, clean water, shelter kits. The Vaishans were shocked. They had begged for rescue. And now they were being treated with care, not just force. Ada handed Myra a sealed meal pack. It's not fancy, but it's real. Myra looked at her. Why do you do this? Why did Earth send you? Ada paused, then answered, because we remember what it feels like to be ignored. She didn't say more. Above them, Earth's warships formed a protective wall around the planet. No more invaders would get close. Not while humans stood watch. The scan retreat became a full collapse. Their officers argued across channels, should they regroup or surrender? But fear had already taken hold. Many threw down their weapons and tried to vanish into the stars, but Earth wasn't finished yet. The scan retreat did not save them. Earth's fleet followed. As the scan ships jumped into hyperspace, Earth's long-range trackers locked onto them. The Iron Will, Hammer's Fall, and Void Hunter split into pursuit wings. Their mission wasn't just to protect Varas anymore, it was to make sure no scan commander ever tried something like this again. In deep space, far from any star, Earth's warships caught the first fleeing group. The scan ships were fast, but not smarter. The Void Hunter fired a ripple missile that burst into hundreds of seeking fragments. They latched onto the enemy ships, disabling engines and scrambling sensors. The scan tried to fight back, but their shots missed. Earth's fleet was faster, more precise, more brutal. One by one, the enemy ships exploded into silent fireballs. No mercy. No pause. Back on Varas, Myra and the survivors began clearing rubble. With Earth's support, temporary shelters were built. Medical drones buzzed overhead. Human engineers showed the Vaishans how to repair solar panels, restore water lines, and even reactivate old planetary shields. Myra watched the transformation, amazed. You came with war, she said to Ada, but you're leaving us with peace. Ada gave a small nod. That's how Earth works. Fight first. Heal after. Meanwhile, Leon and his squad remained at the edge of the ruins. They were still alert, watching the stars for any unexpected threat. Think they'll come back? One Vaasian asked. Leon shook his head. Not after what they saw. High above, Commander Briggs reviewed footage from every battlefield. The devastation was clear, but so was the purpose. Earth hadn't come to dominate. They had come to end a terror. And they had done just that. He opened a channel to all Earth fleet ships. Phase 2 begins. We'll chase down every last ship. Any scan who led the attack on Varas will be found. They don't get to hide. The message was clear, no second chances. In a nearby system, the last known scan command carrier, Bloodfang, tried to hide behind a gas giant. Its crew thought Earth's rage ended at Varas. They were wrong, the iron will dropped out of hyperspace. Like a ghost. Its weapons were already charged. No warnings were given. Briggs stood on the bridge and raised a single hand, fire. The carrier never got to scream. Back on Varas, the stars twinkled softly. The night was quiet again. Myra looked up, remembering the red skies, the falling ash, the fear that had choked her people. All of it was gone now, cleared away by fire and iron. Earth's Deathworlders had answered the cry for help. Not with words, but with fire, steel, and unbreakable will. And now, peace returned. Across the galaxy, news of the battle on Varas spread quickly. Thousands of systems watched the footage. Alien leaders leaned forward in their chairs, speechless as they saw Earth's Deathworlders in motion. The images were shared on private channels, military networks, and deep space broadcasts. Black-armored humans walking through fire, Skarn warships breaking apart, and civilians crying as help finally came. The message was clear, even to those who had doubted Earth before. If humanity hears your cry, they will come. And if they come, nothing will stand in their way. On neutral planets, frightened empires held secret meetings. They debated new policies. Should they make alliances with Earth or stay far away? Others considered old mistakes, treaties broken, humans ignored, warnings laughter. The Skarn's collapse shook every power that once believed Earth was still a quiet, distant world. Meanwhile, on Varas, survivors worked alongside Earth's engineers. Tents became buildings. Burnt fields were cleared for farming again. And most of all, the people began to smile. For the first time in months, children played in the open. Elderly Varasians walked under clear skies without looking up in fear. The shadow was gone. Myra stood near the rebuilt landing zone, watching a line of human dropships preparing to leave. Most of the Deathworlders were heading home, mission complete. Ada and Leon stood nearby, helmets tucked under their arms. Myra walked over to them. "You're really leaving?" Leon nodded. "Time to let you rebuild on your own." "But what if the Skarn return?" she asked. Ada looked her in the eyes. "They won't." There was no arrogance in her voice. Just truth. Myra looked around at the shelters, the water tanks, the defensive grid Earth had left behind. And above it all, one warship remained in orbit, the Iron Will. Not all humans were leaving. Commander Briggs had made that decision without question. One ship would stay. As a warning. As a promise. Far from Varas, the last Skarn survivors huddled in hiding. They whispered about Earth now. Some swore never to fight again. Others planned revenge, but they were few. The power that had destroyed them wasn't just weapons. It was the way humans moved, how they didn't back down. The speed. The reflexes, the silent fury. The galaxy had seen a new kind of warrior. And it would never forget. Back on Varas, Myra gave Leon a small token, an old family crest carved from stone. "For Earth," she said. Leon smiled and tucked it into his pouch. "We'll carry it home." The dropships lifted into the sky. Engines roared, then faded. Earth's flag shimmered for a moment before disappearing into the stars, but the memory stayed, not just of war, but of what came after. A race that answered a cry with fire and left peace behind. Months passed. Varas bloomed. The planet, once grey with smoke and ash, now showed signs of green life again. Crops returned. Children went to school. Traders arrived from distant systems, carefully, respectfully. They brought food, tools, and medicines. No one joked about the Varasians anymore. Not after what happened. The story of Earth's Deathworlders became legend. But it was no myth. There were recordings, photos, and eyewitnesses. Myra herself gave interviews, her words broadcast. Across systems, she never made the story bigger than it was. She simply said, "We cried for help. Earth heard us. They came. They burned the enemy. And then they gave us back our world." Every time she said it, people listened. Other small civilizations started sending messages to Earth, not cries for help, but invitations. Peace talks. Trade offers. Cultural exchanges. The image of humans had changed forever. No longer seen as emotional, primitive creatures from a dangerous blue planet, they were now known as the unstoppable protectors from the Deathworld, but Earth didn't gloat. It didn't brag, Earth simply watched. And remembered, back on the Iron Will, orbiting Varas in silent guard duty, Commander Briggs stood before a small memorial wall. Etched into it were the names of every human who had fallen during the Varas mission, 16 total, some died in explosions. Others saved civilians at the cost of their own lives. Their sacrifice had been quiet, unnoticed by most. But not by Earth. Briggs placed a small badge under one of the names. You didn't fall for nothing, he whispered. Behind him, Ada and Leon watched in silence. Leon finally asked, "Are we staying much longer?" Briggs answered, "A few more rotations. Long enough for them to know we mean what we said." Ada spoke next, voice calm. "The galaxy is awake now. And it knows not to ignore screams in the dark anymore." Briggs nodded. "Because now they know who answers them." In the distance, Varas twinkled beneath soft clouds. From orbit, the planet looked peaceful. Quiet. But on its surface stood defense towers, shield domes, and radar beacons, all gifts from Earth. Not tools for war, but tools for warning. So the Variations would never be alone again, far away, deep. In the dark corners of the galaxy, enemies watched Earth. Some feared. Some plotted. Some wondered what made the humans so dangerous. It wasn't just the weapons. Or the armor. Or even the speed. It was this: when a cry for help reaches Earth, Deathworlders rise. And they don't stop until the stars are silent again. Asterisk.